Hey, this is Sean with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast, powered by Go Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And if you know Bike Friendly Atlanta, or even if you don't know Bike Friendly Atlanta, go to bikefriendlyatl.org. Check them out, like and subscribe on social media. Also, we want to hear your story on our podcast. We want to make it your podcast. Please tell us your tennis story. You got something fun, exciting that happened, or just something you want to share, go to letsgotennis.com/my story. You can do it in text. You can do it in an audio form, just talk into the phone and say, oh my gosh, it was so amazing, and share it with us. You can upload that file as well. You might even have your story featured on the Atlanta Tennis Podcast. Today, this is the ultimate guide to getting your kids started playing tennis. And today we are talking about how you can use the QuickStart equipment designed for kids as a family. So 3 things. Number 1, lower your expectations for your kids. Okay, this isn't going to work. It's not going to be as great as you think, but it should be fun. Lower the expectations a little bit. Number 2, let the kids choose what to do and how to do it. And number 3, stop when it's time to stop. Don't stay too long. So those are my 3 ideas. Dave, are those 3 things good for this topic today? Did I forget anything? Where would you like to start?
No, not at all. I think those are all very key points. It doesn't really change as it gets older. Just, the kids do mature more and things like that, and that expounds on attention span, stuff like that. But I think those are 3 biggest key points, especially a sub, 10 or 8-year-old or below. Absolutely. Those are 3 huge points. Yeah, I'll let you go run with it first. Go ahead.
So the expectation thing is a fun one. And we've had similar conversations to this that can tie into it, which is how to play tennis with your own kids. And this is one of them. But this is more about the equipment. Because as an example, I'll use my own family. This weekend, we went out and played a little bit of tennis. My wife and I were hitting some tennis balls, trying to get some exercise, get out a little bit. And our 19-month-old son is in the stroller and he's got his Technifiber racket and he's saying ball, 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 racket, racket. He wants to play. Well, we finally let him out and we just let him run around and we try to bounce, hit, and do some of the simple things. But the racket's a good size for him. And it's just it's as small as you can get, right? And
Yep.
But there, you'll kind of know. You see a kid that's 10 and he's got a little 21-inch racket and he's whacking it around like it's a ping pong paddle. It's too small, right? But then you've got your 10-year-old who's going into 6th grade next year. He's got some size on him and he's got a full-size racket. You think, well, maybe that's a little too big. So we kind of have this Goldilocks thing of too small, too big. Try to get some advice, even if you want to. Check with your coach. Take a picture of your kid with the racket that you've got. Don't go buy a racket without some advice. I mean, Dave, we'd take an incoming call. Anybody can call us. We'll help you try to figure out what to do. That's not really a thing a tennis coach is going to charge you by the hour like an attorney to be able to give you some advice.
Absolutely. I see that quite a bit. And luckily, me being around the court a lot, I do get parents will come up in between class and things like that, or at the end of a class, and they'll say, does my son or daughter need a new racket? They're aging up from 8 and under to 10 and under, or 10 to 12, on and on. And I'm very quick to explain to them that it is not the weight of the racket, it is the length of the racket. At those ages, the length is the dominant problem, and that as you add torque and length to the racket, you are adding torque to get that racket. I call it lag time and how long it takes you to get the racket around. That is all indicative of the strength of the wrist, the forearm, the shoulder, all that together. It takes time for that to build. And the more you have the racket in the hand, the better that's going to build on its own. Can you do other stuff? Sure, but there's no need to at this age.
Yeah, and that's a bit of what we talked about in a previous episode, which is about the unstructured concept of letting the kids choose how to run around. If we do it too structured, We did something similar in a different series in our youth sports talk series, where we talked about the unstructured concept, where if you're there trying to force the kid, bounce, hit, bounce, hit, bounce, they're going to butterfly. They're going to run away. They're going to find something else that's going to entertain them, because they don't want that kind of structure right then. They want to play. They want to run around and hit the balls. But in that case, they still need the right racket. You'll be able to find out is they're just dragging it along. You talk about the lag, or in this case, like a kid with a racket that's too small, that they're swinging it around too much. But also the balls are indicative of how well the kid can have some success, how good the success can be, where the kids can see the bounce of the ball. The quick start concept was about lowering the bounce of the ball and slowing the game down a little bit. But also, you take a kid out to those big courts. I remember the Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf commercial back in the day when QuickStart started, and they were reading the book and to the little kids, and they're like, oh, and they got the kids the wrong size tennis racket, and little Johnny quit tennis and played soccer. Left and played soccer. It was like they're just scared of these big things in this huge court. But if you let them run around and get to know it a little bit and realize the other side of the net isn't scary, if you're not forcing them into equipment that's too big or too small, or the ball's bouncing over their heads, they're going to have a better time.
Or the ball hurting when it hits.
That too.
You take an adult ball and you can hand toss it to a little kid of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And if you don't throw it right, which we know a lot of, probably 90% of parents can't toss a ball to the racket head after the bounce. It's not as easy as it looks. And, like I was, quick to point out to my two daughters when they were growing up, is your dad's going to make a lot of things look very simple. They are not. There has been hours and hours and years put into making it look simple. So, don't take it as easy as it looks. It is harder than you think. And from that standpoint, that ball, an adult ball, I see, parents out there, I'll have a lesson with somebody that'll be like using an orange ball, which is a 10 and under ball. And I look down 3, 4 courts away, and there's a parent hitting with the kid with a full adult ball. And I'm like, okay, you're defeating the purpose, but at least you're spending some time with them. And that's not a bad thing, but understand that they're going to get hit, but they've probably done that before too. So, I'm not too critical of that. At least they're trying. So
we have our rule number 1 of tennis for children, which is don't try to hit the ball with your face. And those little foam balls, little red foam balls, are fantastic for the really little kids. If your kid is 3, 4, 5, you're trying to get them started, you get some of those little foam balls. Buy 8 or 10 of them. Yeah, it's going to cost you $20, but it's worth it, because the balls bounce a little bit. The kid's going to swing low to the ground anyway. They're already there. Right. And it's barely going to bounce, and they're going to whack it. It's going to be fun, and they're going to laugh, and they might do it 3 times, and they want to go home. You got to be okay with that too. But if you're bouncing a regular yellow ball at this kid and it hits him in the face, that's not going to hurt. But flip it around, Dave. I remember one time my father's tossing baseballs to me and let me hit him. And at one point I hit him and he ended up with an ice pack on himself in bed for the next few hours. Right. You just got to be careful as a parent too. I remember the first time my wife got hit in the face with a tennis ball, and it was an orange ball, and she still was not happy about it. Right. But think about that as a parent. You're looking at it and saying, okay, if this kid whacks me with a tennis ball, I'd rather get hit with one of those red dot balls than anything else. It's worth investing a little bit. Now, a little pro tip: the orange balls tend to last longer outdoors on the regular hard courts. We got mostly hard courts in Atlanta. Than the red balls. The red balls will fuzz up. They get kind of beat up fairly quickly. The red balls are good for indoors. Yes, they can still knock over a lamp. Right. But if you're in the garage or you're in the house, you're letting the kid kind of play hockey with the ball and have some fun. If you're willing to do that, which I highly recommend, letting the kid run around with a little racket and a red ball, that's a good thing for inside the house. But the orange balls, tend to last a bit longer on the regular tennis courts. You agree, Dave?
I agree. And if you wanted to do something, I've got a picture. I don't have it with me. I have a picture of my youngest daughter I started her when she was about, I don't know, 3-ish, 4-ish. I started her in the house tethering a balloon up and down with a mini racket to build hand-eye coordination and to build arm strength, hand wrist strength. That's the one thing that we start out even at the foam ball stage, which is 8 and under down to about, I don't know, 5 or 6, something like that. The big foam balls, I try to have the kids, even with their small rackets, hold the racket down near the butt cap of the racket and try to do simple downs, bounce it up and down. And it is hard. It is hard. But if you flip it over and do it with a balloon, number one, what kid have you ever met that did not like a balloon?
That's true.
And number two, how many lamps or whatever in your house is a balloon going to knock over?
It's true. The balloon will not knock over a lamp. The racket will. The kid will find a way to knock over the lamp.
And part of back to the fear factor of, like you were saying, tossing them an adult ball or whatever. That racket needs to be learned that if you tap yourself in the face with it, it hurts too. Mm-hmm. So that balloon kind of takes half of that fear out of it, because they'll enjoy a balloon. And then when they're tired of playing with it, they'll put it back in the toy box with a racket, and life is good. The tension span was solved because they put it down. It's there, and they start associating it with fun. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what you need to build in, is that this racket and whatever ball we put with it and whatever size court we put with it, it associates with fun. And even to this day, playing as much as I've played over the decades I've played, I still enjoy, I still associate tennis with fun. Running another person around on the other side, yeah, it's a strategic fun. It is. And that's what I learned it as a 11 or 12-year-old coming up, was that, number one, I had direct control over everything that happened. And it still to this day is exactly what I, signed up for, what I got into. And I love it. And that's why tennis to me is one of the greatest sports that there is. Now, is it the greatest? I don't debate that. It's like debating Michael Jordan. It just don't work. So I leave that alone, but get fun associated with that racket, and you're going to find that the longevity kind of works its way in there. You just have to keep tapping it every time it gets a little boring or a little, mundane, because it does. And you have to play tricks or with your workouts and stuff to make it back to that fun stage.
Make it fun. I can't say it any better. Thanks, Dave. This has been the ultimate guide to getting your kids started playing tennis. We will see you again next week. Thank you, sir.
You betcha, sir. Have a good day.